Hi everybody, my name is Bill Toney. Welcome to another episode of Bill Toney's Game Show. This is a special episode. This is something I don't usually do. Usually I just upload clips from games. I don't put a whole lot of effort into my YouTube. Anyways, there's been a lot of talk online lately about PlayStation 5's games being $69.99 and what a travesty it is that you'd have to pay an extra $10 for a next generation game. One particular video that bothered me was from Dreamcastguy. He's a special character. I like a lot of his content, but he really missed the mark with this one. And he was talking about how gamers aren't going to be happy having to pay an extra $10 for their games. And you know, nobody wants to pay anything for anything. It would just be great if everything was free. But shit ain't free. It takes effort and it takes investment and money to be able to make these games. In fact, it takes a lot more investment of money these days to make games than it did back in, say, 1990, when the price of a Super Nintendo game was $59.99. Back in 1990, to get that $59.99, you're going to have to work a lot more now than you do now to get a game priced $69.99. Well, how is that, you might ask? $69.99 is more than $59.99. And maybe that's the way you see it, but it's very simple. Back in 1990, minimum wage in Washington State anyways was a whole $4.90. So it took you 12 and a half hours to earn that $59.99. And we'll just pretend that tax doesn't exist. Of course, you know, you had to pay your income tax and you had to pay a sales tax, but the government's just gonna fuck you whenever they can, you know? Okay, so nowadays you're paying $69.99 for your PlayStation 5 games. At least you're going to be here pretty soon if you want to buy one. And in 2020 in Washington State, the minimum wage is $13.50. So with a higher minimum wage of $13.50, you only have to work, you know, 5 1/4, actually less than 5 1/4 hours to be able to get that $69.99. So you're working less than half as long to get a game that costs $10 more than it did 30 years ago. It's inflation, and you know, that's the simple explanation. Is inflation. You could also say it's currency devaluation, but we're not getting into conversation about that right now. Most folks, it just goes right over their head. They don't understand what the hell that means. Dreamcastguy sure didn't get it. He made his video. He was all about how it's just $10 more without any explanation. A good game, like a AAA game, back in the Super Nintendo days, probably took maybe 10 million to make at the most. In the 32-bit era, there's a lot more work involved in making a game. You know, that big epic Final Fantasy VII game reportedly cost $60 million to make. So it's a lot more just than that. Well, nowadays, a game like Red Dead Redemption can cost $150 million to make. So that's a lot more investment. And these teams of people making these games aren't just, you know, a few guys anymore making these games. Now these teams are huge, you know, like over 100 people, 100 talented software engineers and artists and writers crafting these expansive experiences. And as the cost of development has gone up and the value of the dollar has come down, the price has stayed the same. And it's been the same for a long time. But shit don't last forever. You're going to learn as you get older that things change. And developers need money to keep going. They're not doing this shit out of the kindness of their own heart. And if somebody tries to make any kind of argument with you about anything to do with economics, and they're a communist, just tell that slave-driving motherfucker they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Well, I'm Bill Toney. This was my fucking video. And do me the biggest favor of all and think for your fucking self.